Kevin told Dalton and Penny that they needed to get out of the room before Professor Colt's pill bowl exploded.
"Are you kidding me?"
Dalton asked incredulously. It wasn't that Dalton didn't trust Kevin, but Professor Colt was a trained faculty member after all. There's no way she'd make a mistake like that. "You can stay here if you don't mind getting burned to a crisp," Kevin said calmly.
"No way. I'm out of here,"
Dalton said as he walked briskly towards the door. While she was talking, Professor Colt was moving the bowl over the Bunsen burner. She was adjusting the flame to the proper height for the preparation of a healing pill. "Professor, please wait a moment," Kevin interrupted her as he strode towards the table. "Do you have any questions, Kevin?" Professor Colt asked him. The other students in the class all looked at Kevin. They were wondering what stunt he was going to pull this time. "Professor Colt, you're making a big mistake with this pill," Kevin said very nonchalantly. "If you turn off the flame now, there shouldn't be too much damage." This drew an immediate reaction from his classmates, who all broke into laughter. They couldn't believe that he had the nerve to correct the professor while she was putting on a demonstration. With all her experience, there was no way she could be doing anything wrong. Who was he to interrupt her like this? Professor Colt was obviously irritated by Kevin's comment, and she scolded him. "Didn't you hear what I just said, Kevin? The most important thing in preparing a medicinal pill is the flame. If you put out the flame now, the pill will be ruined." She was starting to get angry at Kevin. It was bad enough that he hadn't listened to her lecture, but how could he question her abilities? She was a member of the union and was actually their chief apothecary. While she hadn't made every single possible pill, she still had enormous experience and had made countless healing pills in her career. She'd never had a single problem. "Professor Colt, I'm not questioning your skill. It's just that you didn't use any of the grass in that container as you were measuring your ingredients," Kevin pointed out innocently. He recognized the grass in the container as one of the basic components of any medicinal pill. It was something that you could never leave out because it helped the blending of the other ingredients. The most important thing that it did was to prevent the temperature from increasing too rapidly and causing an explosion. The other students thought that Kevin was just trying to draw attention to himself and confuse everyone. They figured he'd probably never seen anyone make herbal meds in his entire life. Mike couldn't resist putting his 2 cents in.
"Stop making a scene, Kevin. If you don't want to learn anything, just leave. But don't mess it up for the rest of us."
"The class leader's right," Lionel added. Then he let Kevin have it. "Do you know how important this is? If you don't appreciate what Professor Colt is showing us, then just go home." Kevin's classmates started glaring at him in disgust. Dalton started clenching his fists. He knew that Kevin wasn't someone who did things just to get attention. These guys were really ticking him off. Kevin sighed lightly. All he was doing was warning Professor Colt because he cared about what might happen. Why did they all think he was causing trouble? 2 minutes had already passed, and Kevin could see that the bowl was getting too hot. You could feel it from several feet away. "This isn't good. Everyone get down," Kevin yelled. He was done trying to explain and grabbed Professor Colt, pulling her to the floor as he protected her with his body. "What are you doing?" she exclaimed. Kevin's classmates still didn't understand how much danger they were in and started to criticize him. "Let go of Professor Colt," one of them yelled. Mike started rolling up his sleeves to take a swing at Kevin as he shouted,
"Get away from Professor Colt right now. If you don't, I'll report you to the administration and you'll be expelled."
He was about to say something else, but they were all interrupted by a huge explosion from the bowl that Professor Colt had been heating. It was like a volcanic eruption throwing a wave of hot air across the room. Shards of the bowl were flung out as the bowl shattered from the blast. The shock wave knocked some of the students across the room and into the wall. Some of them were cut by fragments of the bowl that flew all over the room. And the mixture had gotten so hot that the herbs were instantly vaporized. Professor Colt was absolutely stunned. She shook her head in disbelief. Had he actually been right? As the rest of the students lay on the ground in a daze, they looked over at Kevin with shocked expressions. It couldn't have been a coincidence. Kevin had been telling the truth after all. But Kevin didn't have time to worry about what his classmates were thinking. He was too concerned about the intense pain he was feeling in his back. Since he'd been closest to the table, he'd also borne the brunt of the heat and debris from the explosion. His clothes were shredded and burned, and he had serious burns on his back. But he'd managed to protect Professor Colt, so she didn't suffer any injuries. Professor Colt came back to her senses and felt Kevin's body lying on top of her. This was definitely an embarrassing position to be in. "Kevin, would you please get off of me?" Professor Colt said very quietly. "Okay, Professor Colt," he replied as he stood up awkwardly. Professor Colt glanced around the pill room and saw the destruction. "Send the injured students to the infirmary. Everyone else should go back home to rest. Today's lesson is over," she announced.
Are you okay, Kevin?
Dalton asked as he ran over to his friend. "Don't worry, I'm not dead yet," Kevin replied. It stung a little, but it wasn't as bad as it looked.
"Let me get you to a hospital to be sure,"
Dalton insisted. He really hadn't expected Kevin to hit the nail on the head like that. He said the bowl would explode in less than 5 minutes, and he was absolutely right. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm okay. You should go home and get some rest." Kevin stretched his shoulders a few times.
"Okay, sounds like a good idea. Call me if you need anything,"
Dalton offered without hesitating. The pill room was still uncomfortably hot, so Kevin decided to head home and change his clothes. Plus, his shirt was pretty tattered from the explosion. On the way out, Professor Colt stopped him. "How did you see the problem with the pill?" she asked him earnestly. "It's very simple, Professor Colt. I saw that you hadn't added the correct ingredients," Kevin explained. But he didn't want her to feel embarrassed, so he added, "It's probably because you were talking to the class while you were working on the pills." "Tell me honestly, do you know how to concoct herbal medicine?" she asked as she looked directly into Kevin's eyes.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.